Welcome to the Week 4 recording for C++ programming. You can see that this is all the work so far, the different weeks and other emails. Just a few things before we jump into Week 4. The first one, here's a 5-minute video. This shows you exactly how to open files. This is using the calculator program as an example, but you must open files this way or they will not work properly. It's very important. This video will give you a demonstration of how to do it exactly right. Then once you open it, you can edit it, debug it, run it, etc. Then also you can run your programs outside of Visual C++. So once you debug it, it creates what's called an exe file in the folder. Then you can run the program itself. But you have to follow these steps in order to run these programs at this point. And this little video will show you that. So please take a look at that. Some screenshots to compare what your folders should look like as you move along different processes. Here are some explanation and demonstration videos. Here's how to do assignment 1. Here's a demo, more of a demo of how to do assignment 1. Actually, this is the project 1. The demo that shows how to do it. And here's a demo that shows how to do assignment 2, which is creating a favorite number program out of the calculator program. Of course, the calculator program you did during project 2. So use all of these. I put them in there for a reason so they can help you. All right, week 4. So take a look at week 4, moving into project 3, and it's the Guess the Number project. So obviously you'll watch the lesson, which you're doing now, and you'll do the write-up, and then you work through the labs, 1, 2, 3, and lab 4. You do the labs to help you start with the project, and then, just as in the last ones, after you create the project, then you take what you learn and you create the assignment. So let's jump on down here into project 3. So here we are. In project 3, again, project 3 is a Guess the Number program. And you can see what this one does. It's going to prompt the user to type in a number, and then the computer is going to say your number is too low or too high. Then it's going to say guess another number. Then it's going to evaluate the second guess, tell you whether it's too high or too low. Then ultimately you'll get the number, then it'll say good job, you got it right. So you can see that you're going to have an input right here, then you're going to have some different questions it's going to ask along the way. Now before we get too far, let's look at the Class Connect write-up. Okay, so in the Getting Started section, describe the process the computer goes through to run the Guess the Number program. Let's look at that. So again, this talks about what you're going to learn in this project, coding and debugging, comparing different values, using the random function, using the modulo operator. So be doing lots of different things in this unit. Now the way this Guess the Number program works, again, we talked about a little bit here, is that asks for a secret number, then tells them if they're too high or too low. And it keeps doing that until they guess the right number, then it congratulates them. So those are the steps that this runs through. And if you look at it as a flow chart, take a look here, the computer, see, first of all, this computer is going to select a random number between 1 and 100. And then it says guess the number. And if the guess is too high, then it's going to go over here and say that it's too high. Then it's going to have them guess a number again. If it's not too high, then it says is it guess too low. If it is too low, then it goes up here and it says guess a number again. Then it'll go through these steps again multiple times. And then finally, if it's not too high and not too low, that means it's just right, doesn't it? That's the correct one, then it has to tell them that it gets it right. So again, these are the steps. The user inputs a number to try to guess. The computer compares if it's too high or too low, then gives a message. The person inputs another number. The computer compares it until they finally get it right. So those are the steps that this project will go through. Okay, in Lab 1, so this starts talking about what we're going to do. And as I said before, when you do these projects, like again, we're in Project 3, and when you do these projects, Follow these steps exactly. It works you exactly through the project. It even gives you shots to compare your screen to what your screen should look like, what the demonstration screen has. So if you follow the directions without shortcutting, then you will do fine. So let's go back to the Class Connect write-up. See if we have another question. Okay, in Lab 1, what is the exact file you will open to start the Guess the Number program? What are the 3 commands that must be used in all programs? So here we are in Guess the Number. So you're going to start up Visual Basic. By now you should know, or Visual C++, but now you should know how to start it up. And now you're going to open up the Guess the Number project. And the way you open it up is hopefully you have your computer set up properly. I've told you that many times. I even have a lesson that walks you through the course overview of how to set everything up. Hopefully you've done that. If you haven't done that, then you need to go back to week 1, or I think maybe it was week 2, and look at the demonstration on course overview to set up your computer. Anyway, you have on your computer, you set up a profile. You've set up your username in the profile. You have a C++ folder. Then you have a folder called Guess the Number. That's in there automatically if you downloaded the course resources properly. Then finally, the program you're going to run is called guessthenumber.vcproj. guess_the_number.vcproj. That's the exact program you're going to use. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I would open up that program. So here I am. Then I go to, yours is on the C drive, mine is on a different drive. So I go to C++ that I created. Here's my profile I created, Ron Harrison, C++. And mine's in resources. But here's the Guess the Number. Double click that, and then here's the Guess the Number, VCPROG. I double click that, and it opens for me. Now, I've already done the work, so mine looks different than what yours would look like. But that's the process to get yours open. So you should know how to follow these directions. It'll open up fine. Now once that's open, you then have to open up the CPP, the actual C++ program to run it. And the way you do that is you click on Source Files, you can see right here, and then you find the Guess the Number CPP. So that's the one, that's what has the commands in it. But our file is the one that we looked at before. So you do that exactly what it says, and it will work right for you. So you have to set this up. So the first way you have to set it up is you have to put the lines at the beginning, the important lines. Of course, first you always put the coding for the notes. So the double slash lets the computer know that this is just going to be our comments. So guess the number and then put by Ron Harrison, but put your own name obviously. Then 2 lines underneath it, you put the idea about you're including libraries. So again, / because that's a comment line. And then you have to include the IO stream. So you would type that in. Now one thing you can also do, if you already have the C++ program open, you can go right here, and if you right click on that stuff or highlight it, then right click. Actually, I wouldn't want to copy link location. What I want to do is I would just highlight this, then hit Control C on my keyboard, and then when I go into my C++ program, I can just paste it right in like that, or I could type it in either way. But you must include the IO stream line, you must include the namespace line, and you must include the void main. These are the 3 lines that you must always include in programs. IO stream, using namespace, and the void main. Those 3 lines you must always use. And then of course you can see they're having you down here make sure you put the brackets in. So we put in an opening bracket and a closing bracket. And make sure you use brackets. You can't use parentheses. You have to use brackets. So this is what yours should look like right now, exactly like that. Next, you're going to declare variables or make variables in your program. Now, what they've done for you is you have a starter code text document that you can open. I'll show you that. You've used this before if you've done your work already. So I'll go into C++, Profile, R. Harrison, guess the number, and then right here the starter code. So I could open that, and then I can copy and paste some of this code as it tells me to copy and paste it. Now if you're already in C++ program, then this will open up in a tab in C++. So I'm going to minimize that. So you go right to that document and you copy and paste what this tells you to copy and paste. So you're following these directions exactly. Like this one says, in the guess the number CPP between the opening bracket and the closing bracket, you're going to type in this comment right here. So you could highlight that comment, Control C, and then you could open up your CPP program and you could paste it in there if you wanted to. And then underneath that, you're going to paste the declare the variables code. So look what this is doing here. Yours should look exactly like this. If it doesn't, then fix it right now. Don't wait to fix it later. It should look exactly like this. And you're changing to secret number, and you're changing this to guess. So what this means is that your computer is going to be expecting somebody to type in an integer for the secret number and an integer for the guess that the user is making. Now, I'm not going to go through every single step of this, but I just can't explain to you enough that you really must follow the directions exactly. And this talks about how computer programmers, they can test small parts of the code, and they're going to have you do a little bit of that as you go along. Now you're going to go into editing the code. So here between secret number and the semicolon, you're going to type equal 5. So see how they did that right there? They typed equal 5 right there. So it's right in that spot. They typed in equal 5. Let's go back to the write-up to see if we're on track here. Okay, what is the exact file you will use to open? I told you that. What are the 3 commands you must use in all programs? We went over that too. So no more questions until we get to the next lab. So you're editing the code now. So you're going to go through about 3 slides here. We're going to edit the codes. Now you're going to add in the count command and the send command. Of course, remember what these things do is that's for output and input. And this has you go into that starter text document. So right here is that starter text document. Here's the count stuff right there. So all that stuff is here, ready for you to just copy and paste. And this tells you exactly where you're going to paste that. So you can see all the stuff you're going to do here. Just follow these directions. Next, you're going to put the if statement in, because this program is going to work off of if statements, meaning if something is true, then do this, otherwise do something else. So again, you're going to be using some of that starter code text, and you're going to copy the if statement. It starts with the word if, this thing equals 1, and then ends with the closing bracket. So if I go to here, it's going to be if this thing all the way down to the closing bracket. So I've highlighted everything that this said to highlight right here. Plus, I can see it right there on the screen, can't I? Then go into your send command. You're going to type in a comment. Then you're going to paste what you just did. So look at this. See how all the stuff is being copied and pasted in there. They're going to change a couple of variable names, delete a couple of lines, put in another count command. So now yours should look similar to this. If not, fix it right now, please. Now you can check your work. So here you're going to, you can save your program. So I'll go ahead and open mine just so you can see. So if I've done some work on this, then I would do File, Save, Guess the Number, and then I would go up and I would do Debug, Start Debugging. Rebuild, yes, always rebuild. So now it debugs it, and it'll actually run it if it debugs properly. So see, mine wants to run it. So I can go through this. My number is too low, then I'm going to guess higher. Number is too high, so now I'll guess right in the middle. Number is too low, so now I'll guess number 60. Too low, so now I'll guess number 70. Too low, now I'll guess number 80. Now I'll guess, I already guessed number 90, so I'll guess 85. That's too high, so 83. Too low, so 84. Yeah, I got it. But that's how you work through the debug and everything. Now yours isn't going to do that because you haven't done all the stuff that I've done so far. And as this says, when you debug yours at this point, you're going to enter the number 5. That's what it wants you to enter at this point. Otherwise, you're going to have errors. So just do exactly what it says here to practice debugging. Okay, so now we're moving on to Lab 2. And we'll go to the Class Connector right up. So Lab 2 question. What two comparison operators are we going to be using for this program? Okay, so Lab 2, now we're going to be doing some comparisons. And previously we've done comparisons with equal signs, but now we're going to do different comparisons. So make sure your program is open. And once it's open, you're going to start doing this work. And we're going to look at conditional statements because the if command uses conditional statements. If something equals something, if something is larger than something, if something is smaller than something. And already we have used this double equal sign which compares things equally, but now we're going to be using the greater than sign and the less than operator. So those are the two operators we're going to be using in this program. You will use the equal one also eventually, but these are the two new ones we're using. Greater than sign and less than sign. Because that's the only way we can tell if somebody's guess is greater than the secret number or less than the secret number. So if we look at this, if we run this program, this says the integer number 1 variable equals 5. Then it says if integer number 1 variable is greater than 3, then print out the word hello. Well, what's going to happen? If we do this, this happens right here. Because integer number 1 is greater than 3. It's 5, isn't it? So that's how an if statement works with the conditional comparison. So now you're going to add the comparison operators, the greater than and less than sign. So again, you follow all of these directions exactly. So in your program, you're going to copy this if statement information right here. You're going to do a copy and paste. So there's the copy. You're going to add a few lines. Then you're going to type a comment. Then you're going to paste. So now your program should look like this. So essentially you've taken that information right here and you've just duplicated it down below because we're going to change that. So now right here you're going to change that double equal to a greater than sign. So you can see where that happens right in here. See the double equal? Click right there and it changes it to a greater than sign. Right here you're going to change your count command. So there's what the count command looks like, good job, etc. But we're going to change it to your guess is too high. You're going to add some spacing in between. Then you're going to type a comment. If the guess is too low, tell the user. So you're going to type that comment in. Paste another copy of that if statement that we did before. Change the equal sign in the if statement. So see how that changes as we go back and forth. And then you're going to do the last part. So yours should now look just like this. So you can see up here, if your guess is greater than the secret number, it's going to say your guess is too high. If your guess is lower than the secret number, it's going to say your guess is too low. You saw that when mine ran, didn't you? And now you're going to run it again, so you do debug and run it, and it wants you to enter 3 first, and then enter 7 after it does that, and just see what it does. Because that's the way you can test the program, because we're testing it with 5 as our secret number, so we want to see what it says when we enter 3 and see what it says when we enter 7. But it's not completed yet, but you will get some feedback on it. So lab 2, we looked at the 2 comparisons, didn't we? Our 2 operators. Okay, lab 3. Let's go into the Class Connect write-up and see what lab 3 questions we have. What is a loop and how long will it run? How does a while loop operate? What does the exclamation equal operator do? What does it mean to initialize a variable? So loop and how long it runs. How does a while loop operate? Okay, now we're going to start looking at looping. So open up your guess the number program. So hopefully you have it open or you know how to do that now. And a loop is a section of code that the computer runs over and over again. It's like this right here in the morning. If the alarm goes off, have I pressed the snooze button 3 times? No. Then it goes up here, hit the snooze, alarm goes off, so I do this 3 times, right? Then after 3 times I go down here and I get out of bed after I hit the button 3 times. So computers will repeat a loop until the condition is met. So a loop can run forever, essentially. So a loop makes a computer run commands over and over again, and it can run forever. Now the while loop is a loop that it runs while something is true. So the while loop was a loop that repeats only while the condition is true. So that would be like if your guess is not correct, it'll keep running it until your guess is correct, is true, then it will stop running it. So that's what a while loop does. It's a loop that repeats until the condition is true. Or repeats while the condition is true. Now we're going to insert the while loop. So as always, follow these steps exactly. So you're going to get into that starter code text like we've looked at before. So there's the starter code text. You're going to copy the while loop from the word while to the closing bracket. So from the word while to the closing bracket right there, you're going to copy all of that information. So Control C, and then you're going to add a few lines down in this part of your document. Then you're going to paste that code in there. See how that's done it? And I want you to use Tab to indent so things look nice. Add an empty line down here at the very bottom of your document. Add an empty line before the last bracket. Then you're going to take the bracket from above right here, this exact bracket, and you're going to drag it down near the bottom of your document. What that does is it makes all of this a loop because it can't get out of that loop unless it fulfills all the commands. So you're going to take that bracket right there, that exact one, highlight it, and you can either do cut and then paste it down below, or you can just drag it right down to here, almost to the bottom of your document. So you just copy that bracket. Then go in the front of the bracket, hit the tab so you move the bracket over. So again, the end of your program should look like this. It has a closing bracket here, closing one here, and a closing one here. So that's putting in the while loop. Now indenting, of course we've seen indenting, it keeps things organized. This just tells you how you can increase and decrease indents, a bunch of stuff at once. So you can highlight a bunch of stuff and then hit the indent command and it'll do it for you. So what this is having you do is indent a lot of this, and then you will hit the tab key on your computer, and then that will indent for you. That just makes it easier to see what this while loop is doing. Okay, now we have the while loop in there, but we also have to have the while loop. Again, the while loop does things until or while a certain thing is met. So we have to give the while loop another conditional operator. This checks to see if the value on the left is not equal to the value on the right. So we need to insert this command, that operator command. So we're editing the while loop, and again, just follow the directions. So here's what our program looks like right now. So we're going to change variable name equals number or variable to guess secret number. So that's right here. So right after the word while, you ended up putting this guess command in here, right after the word while. So yours should look exactly like this. Okay? So what this says right here, it says while the person's guess right up here does not equal the secret number, then it's going to do all of this. It's going to run through all of this looping. And then once it comes back up here and guess does equal the secret number, then it's going to skip all this and it'll print, hey, you got it right. So now they're going to have you go through debugging, and you'll probably get a debugging error saying that guess has been initialized, but it's not working. Don't worry about that. Just click continue. You're going to fix it later. It just wants you to run through that debug. Now the reason you got the debug on the guess is because you did not initialize, which means you have to give it an initial value, a starting value. That's what initializing is. You give it a starting value. So we need to put that in. So initializing a variable is just like it says, is giving a value when they declare it, when you start it. So that's what you're going to do up here. Remember we had integer guess. Now we're going to put integer guess equals 0. That's going to be our starting value. So now you're going to put in all these initialize. So give the variable guess a value of 0 to start out with. You want it to start at 0 because we're going to do some randomizing later on. So now run through your program and enter numbers to see if the program works right. It should work now. See what happens. But I think it actually, like this might give you, we don't have any delimiters on it, it might make you guess like numbers in the thousands or something, but guess on yours, see what happens. Now let's go back to the Class Connect write-up, see if we answered the questions for 3. How does the loop, how long does it take to run? We talked about that. How does the while loop operate? We covered that. What does the exclamation equal conditioner do? I showed you that. What does it mean to initialize a variable? To initialize a variable means to give it a value when you declare it. We looked at that. Okay, so now lab 4, what is a random number and what is the coding used to create a random number? In the guess the number program, how is the %sign operator useful? So let's go back and we'll get into lab 4. We're just about finished, so hang in there. Okay, in lab 4, to get to the end of this. So we want to make this where people choose the numbers between 1 and 100. In fact, you might want to change your document where it says guess a secret number between 1 and 100. That way people aren't guessing 1,500,000 or something like that. That's how I'm going to change mine. So open up the Guess the Number program and get into what we've been working on. So random number is a number chosen using a system. They can't be predicted. So what we want to do is we want to tell the computer to just give us a random number, but we have to tell it to do it a certain way. And that's going to be using something called the rand function. So it creates a number that is pretty close to random. But we're going to make a couple changes to it a little bit later. So it has a bunch of related numbers, but they're not exactly as random as we want. So you'll see how we'll adjust that as we go along. So we're going to add the rand function in. So we're going to delete the number 5 in the secret number line. So remember that was right here. Secret number equals 5. We're deleting the 5, and we're going to put in rand and then parentheses, because that's where it's going to store a random number. So when the computer starts operating, it's going to say, hey, I'm supposed to put a random number in here to equal a secret number. So then we don't have to program a secret number. The computer will program it automatically, and it will be different every time. So now you're going to run your program. So it starts running. It asks to guess a number. If there are bugs in your program, then it will tell you that there are build errors. Click no so that you can find and fix the bugs. So check if there are any bugs. Look down here to see if your commands are right and things like that. So you can scroll right through this to see if everything is right in your program. So go through and make sure brackets are the right types of brackets. Brackets are in the right place. You have the right words there. All of that. Very important. Now the rand function list, so you're going to run it one more time and pay attention to what the secret number is. The secret number is going to be the same one every time with the rand. That's why it's not really a random number. So we're going to fix that to where it is a random number every single time. And that's with changing the rand to srand. And we're going to use this command right here. So you can see where that's going to go. So we actually tell the random that, hey, we want you to really be random, not just the same number every time. And we also need to use a timer on this. So you're going to add an empty line. So the first thing you do, add an empty line under the IO stream, and we're going to do another include, another library. So we have the IO stream library. Now we're using the time library. These are all part of the program. Then we put in our srand function. So you're going to go to your starter code that we had here, and you're going to go right here to this rand command. On that line, hit Control-C to copy. Then go and add empty lines. Put your comment in. Then paste that crand. So make sure it's right here under void main. And now you have the random right in here. And now you can go run your program. And actually this is the one where it might be a very large number. In fact, I ran mine when I went through this process, and I guessed about 20 times, and I never got to it because the number was way in the, I think it was around 22,000 or something. So I first guessed 100,000 and it said too low. Then I guessed 10 or too high. Then I guessed 10,000, it said too low. Then I guessed 50,000, it said too high. Then I guessed like 20,000. So you can just keep going back and forth like that. But this is going to be a large number, but see if you can guess it anyway. Okay, now we have to deal with the remainder. Because the way this works with the random numbers, and when it's comparing numbers, we want to do numbers between 1 and 100. So you're going to insert this command. And actually what that command does, it divides one number by another and figures out the remainder. So that's one of the class connect write-up questions. So that operator divides one number by another and figures out the remainder. And that limits the random command that we have, because we want to limit it to numbers between 1 and 100, don't we? So that's what it's going to do. Or between 0 and 100. So now we're going to enter it. So you'll see where you're going to enter it here. Right down on this line. On the secret number line, equals random. You're going to put type %100 plus 1. And the program will choose a number between 1 and 100. It's just the way that the program needs to be operated. Now you're going to go ahead and run it and try to guess the number. It's going to be between 1 and 100. So your first guess, you might try 100. Then obviously it's going to be too high. Then you could guess 50. And if that says too low, then you know it's between 50 and 100. Then you can guess 75. And you can just split things in half like that, because that's how the computer thinks. And so the pause command, of course, we want to have it pause at the end all the time. So you put your pause command right in there. You can see where system pause goes in, right at the end, near the end. Then finally, you're going to run it. Make sure your code looks exactly like this example. Go for it. Go line by line. Make sure it's exactly like that. And it will run properly. And remember, when you finally get it to run, it creates a folder called a debug folder. So if I go right here, actually I don't even need to do that. I'm going to show you where the debug one is. So I'm right here now. So I'm going to navigate to, there's guess the number, there's a debug, and see this exe file. I just run that, and now I can do the number guess. I'll guess 50, too low, so now I'm going to guess 100. That's too high, so I know it's between 50 and 100, so I'll guess 75. That's too high, so now I know it's between 75 and 50, so I'll guess 60. That's too high, so now I know it's between 50 and 60, so I'll guess 55. That's too high, so I'm going to guess 53. I got it. So if yours runs properly through the exe, then it's going to be great. And then later on, when you submit this work, you will right-click, send to compressed zip folder, and you'll send me that zipped guess the number later. So you run that. So we ran through all of that. You have it to where it runs. Okay, now the last thing to talk about. So once you've done that lab, then you go to the assignment. And in the assignment, you're going to take your guess the number program and do some edits to that. So here you've already done the guess the number and all of that. So since you have the skill on how to use that, you're going to take some of the knowledge you learned there, and you're going to go back to your original calculator program. That was the one we did in week 1. And in that original calculator program, you're going to, after the person makes their first math problem, you're going to put it in, see if they want to have another one. So I hope you can see that this is a loop. You're going to ask them to enter 1 for yes, 2 for no. If they enter yes, then it's going to loop and go back up to ask them to do another math problem. If they enter the number 2, then the program will quit. So this is going to be a while loop, and with one more variable integer. So you're not going to use the find the number, the guess the number program. You're going to use your original calculator one. And as you work on this one, let's see what it tells you to do. It doesn't tell you to save it as a different name. I'd like you to call this calculator 2. That way you know it's different from calculator 1. And then you'll zip the guess the number, and you'll zip the new calculator one, and you'll submit both of those in the same Dropbox. And of course, for grading, always go down here. If it does all these things, you're going to get 100%. Same thing with the calculator one, but again, call it calculator 2. That way we know the difference. So that's the work for you. I look forward to it coming in, and as always, within the course, always go to the announcements to see all the videos to help you out. Bye.